Hi, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule. So, in this discussion, and today, actually, I want to ask a question. When do you think oil, gas, coal, and mining resources, when do you think is just for them to stay in the ground? Or under what circumstances would we agree that these resources should not be exploited? So if you've been following my discussion, if you've been following my videos, the conferences, and also if you've been reading my books and various articles, you would notice that I'm a strong proponent of the energy progression dialogue. And energy progression, it simply means that countries should utilize all the available natural resources, especially energy resources, fossil fuels, and renewables, to tackle their economic and energy challenges. And countries should be given a chance to progress from one energy use to another. So I have a video on energy progression and also a book chapter on energy progression. But recently, I was attending a discussion at the African Union Commission on Human Rights. And in my panel, we're talking about the various challenges in the extractive industries with relation to human rights abuses and climate change. And one of the panelists was of a strong view that the resources should stay in the ground. And to be honest, I agree that the resources should stay in the ground if there is no good governance and if the environmental impacts associated with exploiting those resources are less than the economic development that is associated with these resources, and also if the social injustices are just going to escalate in the communities where the resources have been exploited. I'll start with an example of fossil fuels. Yes, most people, we believe that fossil fuels are good, oil, gas, and coal are good, and they are key for tackling energy poverty. Remember, I have written a book on energy poverty, so I know the subject of energy poverty very well. It was my first book, and my PhD was on energy poverty. But you ask yourself, yes, there are countries which have utilized the fossil fuels to address energy poverty and also to address the economic challenges in those countries. For instance, a good example is Norway. We all know how Norway has used oil and gas to enhance itself economically and also ensuring energy security. China also depends on fossil fuels for economic development and tackling energy challenges. Botswana is one of the countries that has benefited when it comes to the mining sector. But however, there are some other countries that have these resources, but they are still experiencing energy poverty challenges. Nigeria, they have lots of fossil fuels, but is everyone in that country enjoying the fossil fuels? Or it's going to, the benefits are going to a few countries, to a few citizens. It's the case with other developing countries. So the question is, when is it justifiable for us to leave the resources in the ground? Because obviously, I'm a strong proponent of all countries should ensure energy progression. Countries should use resources to empower their people. But if under the circumstances there is no good governance in that country and the resources are only causing wars, conflicts, people dying, the resources are only causing social injustices, land injustices, environmental injustices like what we see in the Niger Delta, then the resources should be left in the ground. So this is a discussion we really have to have when we are, and we have to be genuine. It's not all about saying that, oh, you have the resources and sovereignty over natural resources empowers us to utilize those resources. If those resources are not benefiting the people, then why are you making people suffer the environmental impacts of those resources? So in a sense, let us take the issue of good governance very seriously. And people should be able to demand for this good governance, because at the end of the day, you are the ones who are really going to suffer the environmental impacts and social impacts and even economic impacts of extracting those resources. So the message, because this really has to be a very short video, but the message is, yes, we support energy progression. We support all countries to utilize their resources. But if we are honest and we believe these resources are just going to benefit 1% of that community, then they are as good as remaining in the ground. So moving forward, when we're talking about the extractive industries, let us take these issues seriously, because right now many experts come out, oh, we need these resources, we do what, but also focus on ensuring that majority of the people are going to benefit. Otherwise, we're going to see lots of protests. We're already seeing protests in Norway with respect to the coal projects, in the UK with respect to the new oil licensing rounds that have been opened. But at least these countries have a justification, of turning back to fossil fuels. So let us all have a justification. Let the governments have a justification and ensure that even experts, you shouldn't just take sides and be like, this is the side I'm at. Yes, there are benefits, but let us also acknowledge the disadvantages, because many people are suffering because of the environmental impacts. People are suffering because of the social injustices. So activists out there, don't just be an activist focused on one aspect, environmental aspect, and you're leaving out the social aspect, environmental aspect, and you're leaving out the economic aspect. Then it takes me back to also some of us who always look at the economic aspect and we leave out the environmental aspect. We often say, yes, these resources are going to take our people out of poverty, but some countries for decades and decades have been exploiting the resources, and we're not seeing how this is really changing. So let us be genuine, whether you are an activist, whether you are a scholar, whether you work with government, international organizations, regional bodies, whether you are a student, wherever you are, let us look at the sector genuinely and ensure that as we're exploiting the resources, we take into consideration all the pillars of sustainability. We take into consideration that good governance is key in ensuring an equitable and also sustainable development of the resources. Otherwise, if the negative impacts associated with the resources is higher than the positive impacts, leave the resources in the ground. Don't come sending me messages, oh, Victoria, you're telling us to leave resources in the ground. I'm a strong proponent of energy progression. But let us be realistic. Let us be realistic. Even the contracts countries sign, we have to be realistic and analyze them. Who is benefiting from these contracts and agreements? So, yeah, basically today, I just simply wanted to flag this, that yes, there are justifiable circumstances under which the resources should stay in the ground. So let us make sure that we work on good governance and ensuring that everyone benefits from the resources. So that's it for now. Have a lovely day, and see you soon. Do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and get all my books. For consultancies, involve us at Nalule Energy and Mining Consultants. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.